You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 109 for December 2023. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John. How's it going? I have a thought. That's why I paused. When did you get rid of the sweeper music? The
long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, and I'm like, man, I kind of missed that. It was kind of good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, how's it going, man?
Yeah. Bit cold here, but yeah, the heater is coming on.
I'm finding that I'm overriding the heater a little more often. And by override, it goes into this Eco Plus mode. So it pays attention to sort of power usage. So if I go into the office, right, I don't care too much. It doesn't hit a certain low in the house. I don't care too much. I just care about it when I'm in the house, right? So because weather has been a little finicky around here, and I know how people are on the road when weather it starts to show up, that's rain or snow or a combination of cold plus that, which could turn into slippery situations. I'm like, I'm gonna stay home, but I will turn it on. I will say I'm coming home and override. And it's like, you sure you want to turn off the Eco Plus mode? And I'm like, yes.
Burn all the dinosaurs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a thing I'll eventually get rid of. The day that I have all the money to put solar up and a bunch of power walls in and do a whole thing and have a bunch of battery system, and then I'll literally have, in theory, tens of thousands of dollars to have them gut out, and terminate the gas line and put in electric and, be done.
I wish I could have that influence on the homeowners association to turn off the gas, because these things are such hogs.
This is the kind of thing that they have to permit, and before I even say, yes, I want to buy the house, that stuff was already laid out and present in the house. So I had them terminate it behind the stove. And so
I don't think they even do gas powered houses here anymore.
Yeah, they this is the regular, right? And which is kind of sad. So it's run because no way to turn it off. It's run to the dryer. It's either the dryer or the washer. I didn't know. I think it's a dryer. It heats up by the gas. And to the heating system. But when it came to the oven, I'm like, no, I'm going to do induction. So I had him terminate it. So that was one of the small changes I can make early on, at the start. But the rest of it was already done. So, and look, if I had an extra 100K or 50K to have them change it, I would have. But they would have just terminated it because the infrastructure's in the house. It does add value if I want to sell the house. Someone else might not want all that other stuff. They might want the actual gas line. So
yeah, well,
you don't really add it after the fact. You only do it when you do it in building construction and when you can permit it, at a quantity with the townships and stuff. So.
Well, this building was built in 1984, so there's a reason why there's gas.
Right.
But I think they terminated the gas lines downstairs. Can't believe it. I don't think there's any gas lines. There's still gas lines running in the walls, but they are not. They don't work anymore. They were turned off years ago.
I think we are not in 20 years of everyone having solar kind of situation. So the common thing is they're building 400 some homes or something down the street from me.
Yeah, but for apartment buildings, that's not going to be useful, right? You cannot power an entire building with just everything you can put on the roof. The roof is not big enough to power everything in the building. Solar.
Yes, no, but there's other ways to kind of supplement that. If everyone had even if you had 10% of your area had solar on their homes or their apartment complexes, and any overproduced. So in the case of if you have a big apartment complex, you're right. that what's localized to the apartment building is probably not going to be enough if you don't have enough surface area to do that. That being said, for the people that have a fair amount of surface area on homes, they're going to likely produce some overage, and that you feed back into the grid, and then that itself becomes what we call a virtual power plant. And if power companies are in the interest and disposition to be more, I would say green, but be more, get their source of energy, from solar, then they'll find plots of land that are kind of like not livable, usable, industrial, off the side of roadways or whatever it is, and they'll lay out like areas they reserve for certain things intentionally. They'll put solar up right in those places and then get megawatts of power from that for the local area. So you can kind of balance it if you kind of actively think about redesigning the grid with an intelligent factor, not a just a pure profit and margin, approach. So, but it's not. We don't. At least in the U.S., we don't live in that society. It's happening more often, but it's not happening at the places and with the right people that have the right land and the right jurisdiction as often. So maybe in 30 years, maybe that is a thing. And that will be when gas lines don't go in houses anymore. And that will be when, everyone is running on some kind of more efficient, effective heating systems and, that kind of stuff. So
there's a guy at the company that manages the building.
mm-hmm.
Like that we have a company we contract with, and they went to the homeowner association meeting, and a couple of years ago we asked him like, can we get solar panels on the roof? Like a couple of years ago, before everything started, really kicking off with that stuff. We're like, oh, no, you don't want that. They'll catch fire and they'll damage the building, and there'll be lots of.
They don't.
Right. So we asked him several years ago, and so this guy,
don't do that.
Last homeowner association meeting, he goes, yeah, you guys need to start making the building use less power, and we need to start thinking about putting solar panels on the roof. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? We did this. We told you this years ago that we should do this, and you were against it and said it was a bad idea and that the fire department would be angry with us.
You know how it goes, right? You work at places, and it doesn't matter whether
he's on his way out. He's an old fart. Yeah. He should
right,
go.
Exactly. People that have C-level titles or manager titles, they're just making it up as they go along, which is like 75% of anyone in any of those kinds of positions, which is why a lot of companies don't evolve. And then C-level people either get a thing in their bonnet, and that's the only reason changes happen, right?
He's not a C-level person. He's like he's the technical manager.
Right. But they're so used to responding to people, and they're in this position of saying no, even if no isn't relevant, or they don't know what they're doing, so they just their default habit is to say no and come up with some BS reasons to say no. And so, good. I mean, look, I hear what you're saying. I was somewhere. So I was at last month. I went to a friend's wedding, which means I drove, 100, nearly 200 miles in one direction. And they got smart. I didn't know this until like last moment. But what they did is, from people who were at the hotel, they had set up a shuttle for us where they were going to shuttle us to the church. So I was with basically his family and his now wife's family. So I got to know his family. I never met these people before, right? And so one of his, I think one of his aunts or something, no, maybe it was on his, doesn't matter. One of the aunts was like, someone made some comment about, oh, you should get an EV. And I stayed silent. And she's like, oh, wait. And she was just spewing out like incorrect inaccurate rhetoric for like 5 minutes, saying, but she's not, like, she's way in her age, right? And so I get it. When there's an agenda, that's what people hear and that's what they believe, and then that's what they repeat. So, and that guy was probably one of those people. The reason not to is because whoever supplies the energy doesn't want you to do that. They want you to take off the grid. That's a loss of profit. It's sad that we live in this world.
Speaking of this world, I had a plan to do like predictions for 2024 today.
Yeah,
but Alan just boycotted that and decided to not think.
I didn't. He's like, "You got any predictions?" And I'm like, I don't think you can live the world by having to, like I said, okay, what's my prediction? I don't know. EVs are going to be more of a thing, and society is eventually, some part of society, if I'm being more direct and rude about it, there is a lot of society is going to die off, and he's saying no for no good reason, for being uninformed and spewing out rhetoric. That stuff is still going to happen despite age, but like is going to kind of fall away, and we will, unfortunately, it'll take us 50 years, eventually start to evolve as a planet. Well, at least we'll have a direction of maybe 5% in the direction of evolving. But that's it. That's my prediction. But that's not exclusive to 2024. None of that is going to happen. They're going to do it in 2050 when we know it's all too late. So That's it. That's my prediction. There you go. And he's, John's like, yeah.
So let's just go through these. I just wrote them up. I've been thinking about them for a while now, but I think next year, with all the stuff that we've been seeing from all the large language models and all the other stuff, and all the rumors about AGI, I think we're going to have a big oopsie next year. There's going to be a big oopsie where something breaks that causes something to get out, and it fucks with everybody's livelihood, and something is not great.
Okay, so well, you got your tinfoil hat on.
So something like
what's the AI, AGI? What is it going to? What is GPT going to name itself? Is it going to call itself Skynet, or what do you think it's
Bob?
Bob
Or Steve?
Okay.
Hello, Steve.
Yes, hi, Steve. SteveNet.
Wait, what if Steve was an AGI all along?
No, because when we started this, none of this stuff was as advanced as.
What if you went back into the past?
Are you calling him the Terminator? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just going back.
The T in GPT means Terminator.
Terminator, Skynet. So yeah, I think there's gonna be an oopsie where like ChatGPT gets trained on something, or some other large language model gets trained on some data it's not supposed to have. That data gets out. It gets used in things it's not supposed to be in. Like, think of people's health data or whatever. Some idiot is going to stick it into a large language model in some way, and it leaks out.
Right.
And people's shit gets destroyed.
And
like,
I'm
health
sure
insurance companies are going to base their data on it, and people are going to die.
The thing is, so I mean, when everyone's like AI, and I'm just like, I'm so opposed to the misuse of this thing, and unfortunately,
I know.
Unfortunately,
I don't mean
bubbles
ChatGPT. I don't mean
media,
ChatGPT.
right? Yeah, I
mean
understand.
Something
I know
more
what you mean.
advanced than that.
And it's just like it gets abusive. I gave this out to people at work, but I found where someone wrote a blog post where he called it the AI glossary, and they did a fantastic job of clearly defining what each of these things mean, what the actual verbiage is, what it is not, its context. And that's it. No bias, no clickbait-y stuff in it, nothing. And unfortunately, in the generic things, all these things are sort of AI, um, not aligned, but again, vocabulary center of my brain's gone today. But anyhow, so along the lines of there, like in the loosest terms, you could call it AI. But as soon as it is effectively something like real, right, and works, not doesn't work, is actually like a better way of determining which kind of pizza you like when you ask, tell me, where the nearby pizza is, and you're in Paris, right? And it's taking weights and limits of knowing what you do at home and bringing that information together in a really effective manner. It is now not going to be called AI anymore. It's going to be called the pizza algorithm or something. And that's a bad name. But to the larger point is it's only AI when it actually doesn't work.
You mean the intelligent yogurt?
No, is there what? What?
Love, Death, and Robots. Have you seen that?
Oh, I couldn't watch it. I just really didn't like it. I just didn't. I could not engage with that thing. I tried. I tried hard.
There's one where there's an intelligent yogurt.
Okay. Does it talk back at you as you swallow it?
No, it's like it gives people hints and then suddenly takes over the world, basically.
Okay.
Um, it's
I
like
hope we
it's
don't
like
have that problem.
like I think in the next couple of years, maybe not next year, but like there's going to be a point where we have something powerful enough that it mimics certain things, and it doesn't have to be like human level intelligence. It doesn't have to be like, and human level intelligence is kind of like a misnomer anyway, but like we're, as a species, we're pretty dumb. um we don't have any long term vision. We don't have any long term plans, right? We're
We
pretty
don't.
dumb. We're
We
pretty dumb when it comes to
we
that,
as
because our horizon is 80 years at max ish, right? So we don't plan for anything further than that. And by the way, the first 30 years of your life, you're not really focused on the horizon anyway.
so that's a. I mean that is true. I
But
will say I will say culturally, when I grew up, it was like you need to get your stuff together by 18, move on. Be in college, you get a little extension out of it. If you go to college, you get maybe 4 years on that, and maybe get a little like gap year. But you gotta be a part of the world, do a thing, and be self sufficient, and start your path to be on your own. And then as time went on, um, people turned that into getting 10 years to 12 years to achieve that somewhere in their early 30s they can take the 6 years of their life and start on that path. And I'm like, we were so adamant about this path at my age level. Why are we not doing that? And it's because there was a lot of hardships over our culture of like just not being supportive to evolution like that. And so that's sad. And so that's why we sort of now have people who are really starting their world and not caring about anything until they're way too old.
anyway, so AI disaster next year, I think it doesn't have to be like a disaster where people die. I think it will be a very embarrassing situation for a lot of people who, you know, we might see some data getting leaked regarding to this, and you know,
I'm positive the financial companies, the credit companies in the U.S. they're such a they're such the worst at security.
oh yes,
I'm sure that they're, if it
I'm
hasn't
think
already happened yet.
I'm thinking more of health insurance companies. I'm talking more about hospitals, um, medical research, that kind of stuff. People dumping all the data or people's private data into a large language model, trying to make the AI encompass everything, know everything, and then really messing things up and sending
Mm-hmm.
data to the wrong person. And I think that's also going to kick off like a set of like regulations regarding this kind of stuff to clamp down on it. And there's going to be certain countries in this world who are not going to bother with that anyway. They're just going to keep going, and they're going to mess things up even more. And I know for sure that there's stuff in Europe happening where they're trying to somewhat limit these types of things, because something like this could mess things up a lot if it is introduced too quickly, and it will break things if it's not handled responsibly, because it can be a very good tool, but the tools currently are still tripping on mushrooms, and they're thinking things up and really adamant about them being correct. And the hallucinations in
Yeah.
large language models are such a huge problem.
The tokenization loop is kind of problematic because it's not really taking consideration of the last thing that was a prediction path, and it's not including that. It's just sort of leaping off. It's sort of yes and. It's improv, basically. It's improving on the fly, and then it's only keeping a very limited amount of history. And then it gets too far down the path. It lost its point, initial point, or its initial reason to go on a path, and the logic is gone, so it gets into a hallucination cycle. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be not as much limitations on it, more of like there's going to be guidelines, or at least some laws regarding as to what you're allowed to do with it, or where it's allowed to be used for, because there's going to be leaks of data for people's healthcare stuff. Like, it's something as like, oh, you had an ingrown toenail when you're 18 or something like that, or it's not so bad, but when somebody loads like criminal data into it, like somebody's arrest record or whatever.
If I think about this, I think the larger path was, so it used to be the tools weren't so effective, so you didn't depend on them. You had to kind of depend on your learning and your experience and your brain. And again, just being a little older, calculators weren't really allowed until you got into calculus. So you had to kind of build that, being able to do the primitives and the basic, math in your head, or write it down, show your work, and work it out. And then, of course, the time that has changed, where they're like, oh, yeah, you can use your phone. Oh, yeah, you can use the calculator on your phone, or you could use a physical calculator. And so there's not much reason for individuals to learn how to do that thinking, which leads into less critical thinking and a little more dependent on spell checkers and, searching up on the internet answers to questions and getting proficient at that, which is kind of the lean towards like prompt engineering, and just sort of being a sponge in other ways, but not in the typical way, which used to require you to build neurons to a path so that you knew how the blueprint worked, you knew what the ingredients were, and you knew how to apply them. But now you just know what the ingredients you need, and you go look it up, and it gives you a recipe. Or in this case, you prompt engineer it into something AGI, and it gives you answers. It's not necessarily correct, but it gives you answers. And C-level people can go, oh, so I can replace all the developers. No, you can't. And if you knew anything or what you would say about that statement, you see what kind of development language programming stuff it spits out, yeah, it'll do the work, but it's not the most effective, efficient path, and it's not the most correct. In fact, it's very rookie. There are junior developers who are in their first 2 weeks well, maybe not. Maybe in the first 2 years will produce a much better piece of code than that AGI will.
Anyway,
So
I think something is gonna break next year.
okay, that's your prediction.
That's my prediction. We'll see about that at the end of next year when we're all on brain interfaces and getting shot into orbit.
I don't know. My rant was that I think we have been slowly iterating towards a path where we are doing less of the actual thinking and letting other things, letting programmers and companies and people create systems that think for us, which do come from people, right? That's how it gets there. And we are more dependent on that. So like I've been seeing this pattern for a while. That being said, there's lots of things that I go Google up that I wouldn't normally, because I don't want to go find a dictionary. I don't even have a dictionary in the house. I have one in my hand. So my point is, this is a path that humans are comfortable. Let other things do the work for us. It's a very comfortable human pattern. So it's hard not to agree with the prediction.
I'm not as much opposed to not doing a lot. Like I prefer to not do something. Than
I like when some of the development tools are helpful, but there's also stuff where it's a little bit more machine learning model I'm coding, and it's like, oh, you mean this? No. Only 10% of the time I actually mean that. No, that's not what I'm typing, and I just continue to power through the typing of what I'm doing. So it's on a path that could be positive, but it is not. None of it is there yet. Okay. It's not a replacement. So anyhow, that's it. That's my whole point on all this stuff. And I'm morally opposed to the generic use of those two letters when it's exactly
that's why I put
not.
Quotes around it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Happy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
What?
Okay. I said yes, I am.
Yeah. So next one is Twitter/X dies in 2024 before the U.S. elections.
All right, hold on. Let me pause for that. Let me go to GPT and ask it what I think. Anyhow, sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah. X is gonna die. I got it.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna survive next year. I don't even know if it's gonna survive 2023. It might be one of those Tumblr.
No, it'll make it to the end of this month. I
don't know. With the things he's been saying, I don't know. It's gonna last that long.
The irony is, it was never profitable. It was always borrowing other people's profit, or investment. So,
I think if it survives, it is because he sold it.
Yeah,
because he wants to get rid of it.
He has to let go of his influence on it, and let it thrive on its own. And if it doesn't thrive, then that's its downfall. But he needs to be out of the negative influence to it, and only good ideas in, and not bad ideas. Now again,
I'm not saying that it's going to be because of him. I'm just going to say it's going to die next year.
No, it's on a path. We know it's because of his decision makings and changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we know that. I think that's pretty obvious.
I don't think it will even get to the point where he introduces stuff with like the WeChat type stuff. I don't think we'll even get there.
I wish he left it alone and started to add to it. And
like what I said earlier, where I said, oh, he should have just made like his everything app on the side and then introduced it as a way to
and the login integration through Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And then figure out how and hire someone to stabilize the problem instead of him taking it on. Yeah. Yep. And that would have been the more correct thing to do. And I think that's why people who are hopeful in his change of leadership, that would have been great. But here's the thing: it's one thing to fix a problematic situation, and another thing to create a solution to a problematic situation that never had a solution. So, and that's what those other companies were doing, and that's not what this was. I knew internally Twitter was a big old mess at the business layer and definitely down at the developer code engineering layer. But no one cares. They wanted their tweets and they wanted their followers, and they needed their egos to be elevated. And and so no one cares, right? Because as a human race, we're big narcissists. We might be 1%, but we're big narcissists as a human culture, and that's how our behaviors are. So
Our horizon of 80 years.
yeah,
Anyway, so I think it won't make it to the next U.S. elections, and I don't think it's going to be a big influence on it. I think you'll see more fragmentation, more different platforms popping up.
yeah,
But I don't think there's going to be you need to advertise your political stuff on this channel as much. Of course, there's going to be Facebook because that's where all the boomers are.
yeah.
It's kind of
Fig-
funny that it came from a place where, it came from a university type dealio. It was
right. It
like
was
not
meant
really
for.
boomers,
It was
but it's
not
like
meant for boomers. It was not
now
meant
all
for
the
Gen X.
60
Yeah.
something, 50 something year old people are
It
on
was
there, and they're like,
meant to be the
ugh.
late Gen Xers and the early millennials. Like it was meant to be that platform. But like anything, when everyone gets on board, regardless of age, they ruin it. And when that becomes profitable, then there's a motive to allow it to be ruined and continue to propel um, algorithms to feed that, you know.
I'm actually surprised that Facebook still exists.
Yeah, I always found it toxic, and I was out. And the thing that really irritated me is when I have a relative saying, "Hey, you didn't say happy birthday to me on Facebook," and I go, "I'm not there." And they go, "Well, I see you post things." I said, "Yeah, for the podcast. I'm not there.
I thought I
I
made it
don't,
that.
did I not make that clear? What am I posting?" Well, you said no. Well, you liked one other. Why are you stalking me? No. So I said, I'm outsy. And then, of course, I got involved with the auto club, and they're like, well, we had to administrate some Facebook stuff. I'm like,
Fun Facebook stuff.
yeah. And, trying to rip away from that. But unfortunately, as people get older, it's like Florida in the U.S. They settle in one place, and they settle in Florida and on Facebook. They don't understand why they're there and what they're doing, but that's where they are.
I think my list is more of a list of fears than it is
A list of
predictions.
actualities, yes. Yeah, Facebook
Okay,
will
so I
won't
have another
die
one.
at any time
Blue
soon.
Sky takes off, but becomes algorithmic anyway.
Yeah, I think that's likely the case, right? It's a good place for everyone to chill out, and everyone likes it. Twitter was like that for a moment until it got toxic. So,
Yeah, until it needs to make money. But I think if they switch over early, so if Blue Sky starts introducing stuff like subscriptions and whatever for like extra features or whatever,
yeah,
like the feed system they have, you can make your own feed, right? If they make that something where you can have more powerful stuff to make your feed better or whatever, I don't care. But as long as they give that control into the hands of people themselves to make their own feed, like with what they want to watch, what they're interested in, I think it will be less influenced by the. It will be less taken advantage of by people who are trying to mess with the algorithm
right.
to like, oh, I want to push that the Earth is flat or something like that, something stupid like that.
SEO, but the S stands for
Yeah,
social.
yeah. So I think that if
Or it would be PEO. The P stands for
it can
prompt.
be algorithmic, you can even include LLMs and do all the fun, cool stuff. I don't even care if you add crypto to it. I really don't care. But as long as you keep giving it to people themselves to control their own
Well, it goes
what they
back
see.
to go back to that sort of self moderating, right? So when you have individuals who are a little more, say, educated, informed, or aware, they're more likely to self moderate, um, and maybe community moderate in a positive way. But when you are becoming more of a culture that's just dependent on looking up answers, the thing that gives you answers can have agendas. And sometimes they do. And that's unfortunate. And unless you're smart about it, or you already have sort of your frontal lobes developed in a way that's it's the infrastructure for things, you won't detect when Amazon's emailing you all of a sudden about that you owe them some money, and you're like, "Hey mom, do you have an Amazon account?" "No." "I don't even know where to go for that." Then why are you giving this individual and this link that doesn't go back to Amazon.com money? "Oh, I never thought about that." Well, think about that. Put Do some basic deductive reasoning. These things do not align, right? And so when we live in a culture that like is feeding us solutions all the time and we just accept its answers without thought, we find ourselves in a bad place a lot. And so this kind of stuff is going to lead us in this direction
Yeah,
again, unfortunately.
I've seen it a lot with like people who are like being trained for like support duties or something like that, where
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, they perform like they know from history that if you do this dance, then it happens. It does it again, like the technical knock, right? The printer doesn't work. Give it a slap on the
Yeah,
side, and you're
percussion
accidentally pushing a
therapy.
button. Nobody realizes that, but you're
Right.
triggering something inside of the printer to fix
Yeah, yeah.
itself,
It's the rain
right?
dance. It's the rain dance.
I
And
was
again, the sort of faith and stupidity has always been in human culture, despite the culture. Um, yeah.
Well, you see it in birds too, right? There's like birds that they I think it's pigeons. If you give them food in a certain way,
Oh,
you can
okay.
train them to start doing that dance every time they want food, and
Mm.
then they expect there to be
Well,
food.
that's how you train pets. That's how they train animals too.
Yes.
It's a reward and system. I mean, if you boil it down, our primitive nature in our brains, we're often very similar. We do this because it gives us some kind of chemical situation that produces pleasure or something, right? And we are very social. Even the people who are antisocial are somewhat social. If we have, you take away all those responses, we're still very very similar. We do a
As
dance.
humans, we're smart. As a
We
species,
just
we're
know, we just understand
dumb.
the dance after a while, and we understand what we're doing and why we're doing. Well, we don't always understand why we're doing things, but we recognize we're doing things. So some evolution.
Also, we're gonna get COVID-2 electric boogaloo next
Yeah,
year.
probably.
Did you say the thing from the white lung syndrome thing?
No.
Oh fuck. Okay. Well, maybe it's just an election year thing.
Okay.
We get another 4 years of staying at home. It's gonna be so bad.
Yeah.
There's it's already been spotted in like the U.S. and in places in the Netherlands as well. There's
White
a
lung is what you're saying?
yep.
Okay. No, don't know it.
There's like a pneumonia. It's mostly affecting young adults and kids.
Okay.
So, and again, it came. Apparently, it came from China, but I'm not really sure about that.
I
But
mean, the rhetoric on that's easy to say,
yeah,
whether it's true or not.
no, that's why I say it apparently came from China, but I don't know.
Oh,
Like,
like you want to find your enemies? That's an easy place to start as of late.
hmm.
I'm not defending. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I think next year is going to be an interesting year for this. Like we're finally out of big flare ups of COVID. Like there's still people getting COVID, but it's like it seems to be less of that kind of stuff. Actually, I
Hmm.
had my first cold. Oh, did we talk about this last episode?
No, I don't think so.
I got a cold. No, I did. I did. I think we did because it was my first cold in 5 years. And I'm like, it's like
So, I
just because kids don't really, people with kids they don't care, they care of that shit, and they forget they
they're
have
not
had COVID like 6 or 7
they
times, and
they're
then
in a
they
position where they just can't live in a paranoid situation. They can try to be as much as possible, but kids don't. They don't think about these things. They're
but
not
they
trained
have no
to.
consideration for anybody. They
Yeah.
just go to the office and decide to just cough on people and decide, oh wait,
Right.
oh,
Hmm.
and it's not just people with kids. It's like older people.
Yeah. There's definitely lots of people, and you saw that. You saw your friends and family and how they responded and how much they took any level of seriousness with when COVID and sort of lockdown was happening. You know, as far as they're concerned, like I lived through wars, I lived through all the things that people say, and I'm still alive, so therefore I don't
For
care.
now, yes.
Right, right, and so like you get to see that arrogance show up again, narcissist, right? UV culture, and me. I want to go to the movie. Me. Yeah, you know that people are like dying because people like you are carrying stuff. Yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm 90 years old. I'll always survive, right? Like, whatever. So that's unfortunate, and I don't think that's ever going to change. That would be a prediction. That behavior, that attitude will not change, even if the next thing comes along. So,
Anyway, do you have any wishes for 2024?
yeah, financial situation for me improves. So I could at least be on some kind of path in the next over the next 5 years to get back onto a path of where my life was last year. Yeah, so that I can conclude some projects that I've already forgotten about, and actually have some furniture around here. So, priorities.
IKEA.
I look. I don't. I know it's not that you spend $1,200 for a reasonably okay couch instead of $8,000. But honestly, I don't care, right? I can always replace it, especially at the cost of $1,200, right? Um, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with IKEA. I
Yep.
don't mind. I'm not arrogant about it. I'm not a snob about that stuff. And oh, by the way, what you find out is you go into those fancy places and they say, oh, this couch, that small one, costs $5,000. Great. Then you find out what it's made of, and it's just been stapled and nailed together versus IKEA stuff, which at least has some kind of intelligent locking. And that other couch that you invested so much money on, you just kind of get someone to reupholster it and fix it all the time because you invested a lot of money. Or you get that $1,200 couch, and in 10 years, 15 years, when your kids have finally ruined it, you get rid of it and you spend, through inflation, you spend $1,400 and you get something new and better. Like, I don't care. IKEA is fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Um, no, I think that's good. Financial situation improve and majorly improve in a positive way. That's just a wish fantasy. That does not mean it's going to come to actuality in 2024. And oh, by the way, if it's on the path, the way corporate stuff works, it probably won't show up until the summertime. That's how the U.S.
Yeah.
Corporate, we'll give you some raises, but oh, by the way, we got all budgets and things to do, and it might show up in the second quarter of the year, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I got some fun stuff.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Lethal Company is Dangerous. Polymatic.media/1CP. It's a fun game, and it doesn't have. It isn't very deep yet, but it looks like a very entertaining game to play. This is Captain Sparkles and some other people
Mm-hmm.
playing Lethal Company, and I think it's like $9 on Steam. It's like
Hmm.
worth getting. I think it's like the Among Us. So
Right, I noticed that.
if we get COVID to Electric Boogaloo, maybe we'll be playing this all
Oh
of this
God,
next year.
God.
Hey, okay, then Marcus Brownlee had
Yeah.
a view of the Tesla Cybertruck. I haven't actually completely watched this video.
Oh, okay. I already watched it.
Yeah, but it's a very long video. It's like 43 minutes, and I've had other stuff to do. So, Polymatic.media/1CQ for that.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. It's fairly comprehensive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard that the Cybertruck is not going to be available for a while.
No, it's
They only delivered a couple of them, and there's going to be
they
two
always do
models.
this. They always do this, especially if it's like the end of the year. They only do a limited amount of through the year because it's December, right? And they'll ramp up for deliveries through 2024 with plan, right? Because they have to deliver them, they have to ship them, they
What do you
have
know?
to.
What do you know about the battery bank? The extra battery bank.
So it's 123 kilo. Oh, that I don't know what the price is on it yet.
Yeah, there's like a backpack you have to add to it. So you
So
buy the
it would instead it
$100,000
would
one
go
and
in. It would go into the lower basin. So the
no,
under the
it goes
trunk.
into the back of the truck.
That's what I'm saying. The lower basin, where it's going to say underneath the truck bed.
No, on the truck bed. That's
No,
what I've
underneath the truck bed, there's a basin where you can put like what would normally be considered like in Teslas. I have a lower trunk basin in my trunk that I can put things. Right, it's deep enough for me to put enough stuff. So they have a version of that that's underneath the truck bed in the back, and this thing would be shaped to fit right in there and lock in. So you basically would lose that, but you get an extra 120 miles of range. I don't know what the kilowatt batteries. You could do the math on it if you really care. So you could get to about 460 on that, but I don't know what the pricing is on that. So if you figure, well,
it's
you have to.
100K for the top model.
So it's going to be It's 340 as it is. So it is basically a third. So if you could price out the cost of the battery as it is at a third, then that would roughly be the cost of that extension. So, assume you had $10,000, it would probably cover it.
It's about my apartment. I bought my apartment for 156
Euros or in dollars?
Euros.
Yeah.
But
okay.
at the time they were about equivalent. So
yeah,
they're still about equivalent. So it's fine.
I have friends who live in Jersey, and so when I was looking at houses,
But like
I just
100,000 for a car.
Right. So again, you got to put context to the U.S. So, I was asking him. I said, okay, what could I expect? What do I worry about? Real estate taxes and they're like, well, it's like, so by example, I know that's relative to your area. So can you, like, you don't have to tell me, but can you give me a ballpark of what it is? And like, can you give me a ballpark of what you spent to buy the house and to give me context? And so what I learned was in Jersey, you can get fairly nice large size houses if it's in less more towards rural, not completely rural, but like in less dense areas. The price for the houses are going to be better, but the real estate taxes are way higher than in my state. So here, they're almost becoming the same. prices are going up in my area, in my state completely, despite wherever part of, unless you want to be in completely, you know, middle of the state, which is like, it takes you 20 miles to go down to the corner store. Um, and and the real estate taxes are just like, oh, that's a way for us to profiteer as a borough or a city or a town. And I'm like, yeah, uh-huh. So, my point is that depending on where you live and exactly in the state of where you live, it varies. The cost of living could be better, but taxes could be worse, right? In the case of Jersey, that seems to be a common thing. To be able to purchase a home is much easier, but the taxes are crazy. Crazy.
Okay, so my point was more about the price of the Cybertruck being 100,000 for the top model.
Top model,
That's
yeah.
like two
Of,
thirds of my apartment.
right. I understand.
That's insane for a car.
Yeah, but the Rivians are the same. The Hummers are even more.
How much is a
Um,
Rivian?
the F-150, I don't know what Ford's been doing, but they're roughly. And the problem is Ford doesn't own their dealerships, and dealerships have been putting um,
73K.
putting like 50,000 margin, 50,000K margin on top of it. So people are spending roughly for those Lightnings about 100K plus. And so
Insanity.
so Tesla, except for the X, which they eventually dropped the price, they used to be like the top plaid Model X was like $135,000. But if you go to a Mercedes, you don't even have to buy the top of the line Mercedes, and it's going to cost you that much. You buy a Taycan, it costs you way more than that. You buy yourself a nice and Audi, it costs the same. Yeah. So unfortunately, you buy yourself a Lexus, they're roughly in the zone, about the same,
Yeah, it's still gonna
including
be
Beamers. You know,
it's still super expensive.
it is.
Anyway,
If I was to buy one of those, which I'm not in that position right now, but if I was to buy one of those, it'd still be a long range. I would be less interested in the performance model. And again, I don't care about the towing capacity because it's not the kind of vehicle I would buy, but it would be a step up from an SUV in my brain, because when I need to do bigger things, I don't have to like go rent a thing or hire movers. I have it right there available to me. And actually, it opens up my opportunity to be a little bit more interested in doing things, or going to Home Depot and getting lumber and to go build a thing. Like it would just open up my reason
Model
to do
3
things.
has quite a lot of space in the back.
Hmm?
The Model 3 has quite a lot of space.
Yes, but I've when I put a couple Canadians in and take it to Otakon, I've maxed out everything with filming gear. I didn't take the C stands this year, and even then with a couple lighting, I still put a couple Pelican cases. I'm done.
Yeah,
You
roof
know.
rack.
No, no.
That's what for the Canadians.
Well, then yes, I would have a lot of room. Yeah, yeah, I could put the other seats down, and oh yeah, I'd have all the room and some room.
A special Canadian rack for the roof.
Yeah, exactly. But so the one thing I will say, looking at some of the specs, I didn't realize the monitor's 18.5 inches, which is the exact amount of correct size of what the monitor should be, right? Model 3 only has 15. And, they make use of, they figure it out, but like I've been in the Model S and X, and I've seen the 17-inch screen, and I'm like, oh, it's so much easier to lay this out this way. And that 18.5, because they're not giving you a binnacle, well, that's the right exact size screen, and I wish I had something like that. That being said, I don't know. We'll see. I'm a couple years out. I'm less than a couple years to pay off my car, which is I'm a year ahead of the loan. So, So yeah,
Okay.
we'll see, and I'll make decisions then. Um, I figured out the measurements. I could fit a cyber. I could fit technically it'd be tight, but I could fit two Cybertrucks in my garage.
Okay. You can power your house with it.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you would do that. People are like, well, that's a feature and that's really important. I'm like, it isn't. Trust me, it isn't. And if you live in a part of the world where you have a power problem, you should move or you should do something better, like take $30,000 and put solar and a Powerwall system in your house. And then you don't have to worry about your house not having power.
Okay, another video. Hugabot. Polymatic link slash 1CR. I didn't even know she had a Kickstarter.
I didn't know either. I
Hmm.
didn't really become aware of her.
I wonder what the how that ended.
She tells you in the video that she shut
No,
it down.
yeah, she shut it down. But how did
Oh
it
yeah, I
end?
don't know what it was with the investors, right? So I
Yeah,
guess backers don't. They're not. There's no legal relationship there that they get their money back,
yeah,
right? But if she's talking about VC people, then I don't know.
yeah. Anyway, Polymatic link slash 1CR for a sort of hug bot something.
So what's
Um,
interesting is you can get the stuffed animal that they have. Someone should at least very. I mean, even if you don't put electronics in it, that should be a stuffed animal plushie or something that kids could have. That right there could sell on its own. Obviously, it all goes away. It's probably all licensed to the company that she shut down. It's probably her license. Um, but yeah, I mean, I took note there was ESP32 there.
hmm. Okay, next one is Ren Violet's Tale. Polymatic link slash 1CS. I don't know if you've seen the rest of the videos for this. It's like a tragic story thing. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know how much I watched, so it doesn't come to mind. I did watch the
hmm,
stuff last night, though.
okay. Then the genius of Dutch money. Polymatic link slash 1CT for
Yeah,
that.
I will say U.S. money is not interesting, not in the slightest.
Yep.
Never has been. It's been boring for its whole existence.
Yep. Okay. And it's up to you.
Okay, so I learned today that you do not like Mark Rober, but take the good idea what these two guys are doing. I am now I'm subscribed to the channel to see what else that they do. But this is a trailer about Mark Rober's life, and it's like a parody, right? And this shows you how good of a job these filmmakers are doing. Polymatic.link slash 1CU. And the follow up is what I recommend is watch the trailer first so you can see what all this is about. Then go watch the sort of what would be equivalent of a making of, where they bring you up to speed of the why, what, and how they made the trailer about Mark Rober. And it turns out that Mark Rober is now their new boss. So they were able to get access to some of his life without him ever knowing. And so they did this with somebody else I didn't know, and I think maybe a third person. So there's like a few of these if you go back in their channel. But anyway, I thought this was really interesting, and I would recommend if you guys are interested by the trailer, see how well that was done. To kind of keep a lookout at what they do next. So that was polymatic.link slash 1CU and 1CV. How to build a massive LED wall on a budget. I thought it was interesting. It was really more for like you. I'm not going to build one of these. And also, by the way, I don't have a 3D printer or the motive or ambition to care to do this, but I thought it was interesting. And yeah, so polymatic.link slash 1CW, color wall, I don't know. Okay, so again, this is from people that do interesting journalistic things and were previously sort of doing that, but now they're doing it on their own. So Johnny Harris had something where he was talking about do-it-yourself drones and how that has been something where people are doing that are becoming effective war tools. So again, usually not an area we would talk about, but I thought it was interesting. So that is polymatic.link/1cx. And then fast forwarding a little bit ahead. So Jack Conte, the guy who created Patreon, so he does all these interesting things on the side, and he's in a position where he gets to talk with other creators at times, and he's been doing that. And he has a channel called Digital Spaghetti. The recent one he talked with Nina or something like that. I've not actually watched her stuff yet, but she looks really interesting. So I'm learning about creators and people that I didn't know about. And that was polymatic.link/cy. And then just last, because you mentioned the Cybertruck video, this is just like one of those cases where they're sort of memeing the advertisement of the Cybertruck. But this is a Cybertruck beating a Porsche 911, so it's a gas vehicle, not the Taycan, while hauling a 911. So I thought it was kind of funny. And so polymatic.link/1cz. The irony is, and if you were to look up the information, you Google it, it's actually all incorrect. The 911 is not the fastest of the Porsche vehicles. The Taycan is. The Taycan Turbo S. And the Taycan Turbo S might not be accurate, but it's not as fast as the Tesla Plaid. The Tesla Plaid can get 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 in meters in 1.9 seconds. And the Taycan, I think, can only do it in 2.6. So it would be interesting to see them redo that, hauling a Taycan while competing against a Taycan. So I don't know why they chose a 911. I would have thought that it would have been that like a 911 Turbo S or something is the fastest, but I don't think it is. So I'm not sure why they made that choice. But that being said, I don't know. The Cybertruck Beast only goes 2.6 and 0 to 100, 0 to 60 if you're doing miles. So that's it. That's my stuff.
Okay. Well, I have updated the links for you and for me. You can find Alan on Blue Sky. Polymatic.link/Alan. And me, you can find me on Polymatic.link/John. For feedback, you can still reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our website is Polymatic.media, where you can find all our links. And I hope you tune in next time.